Hello, this is Awesome Astronomy on YouTube, and if you want to know the furthest we've ever travelled, the simple answer is that the furthest any human has ever been from the Earth is 250,000 miles around the far side of the Moon in 1970. But the furthest any human-made object has travelled is 14 billion miles to the edge of interstellar space. But hopefully you're not just here for the quick answer and you're eager to hear more.
But please do help us out by hitting that subscribe button and liking the show.
And check out the Awesome Astronomy podcast on the links below.
So, in September 1968, the Soviet Union flew plants, fruit flies and tortoises around the Moon and returned them to Earth on the Zond 5 mission. Had they not had a couple of rocket failures in the run-up to this flight, they would have sent cosmonauts on this mission and notched up another first in human spaceflight. To gain America's first major leap ahead of the Soviets in the space race, NASA sent the Apollo 8 spacecraft on an audacious mission around the Moon with astronauts on board. Frank Borman, Jim Lovell and Bill Anders became the first humans to leave Earth orbit and orbited the Moon 10 times over Christmas 1968.
They claimed the new altitude record from Pete Conrad and Dick Gordon, who had spent almost 3 days orbiting the Earth in the cramped Gemini 11 capsule in 1966. With Apollo 8, the new altitude record had jumped from 852 miles to 234,474 miles. But it was 2 years later in 1970, after Neil and Buzz's historic moon landing, that the crew of Apollo 13 beat that record and maintain it to this day. Because of an electrical fault that exploded an oxygen tank on the capsule, the Apollo 13 mission, commanded by Jim Lovell, who orbited the Moon on Apollo 8 2 years earlier, was more concerned with getting its crew home safely than getting close to or down onto the Moon. The trajectory to swing them around the Moon and back to Earth took them 164 miles above the far side of the Moon on April the 14th, 1970.
This meant the crew of Apollo 13, Jim Lovell, Fred Hazy and Jack Swigert, missed the opportunity to land on the Moon and claimed the record for distance from the Earth of 249,205 miles. All other Apollo missions successfully landed, requiring a closer orbit to the Moon and ensuring Apollo 13 kept the record.
Russian cosmonaut Alexei Leonov, the first human to walk in space, was to be the Soviet Union's first man on the Moon, beating Neil Armstrong to that title if they could. But problems with their gigantic N-1 moon rocket meant they never sent a human to the Moon. In fact, only the US has sent people beyond Earth orbit, and only to the Moon, between 1969 and 1972. NASA is working to return to the Moon this decade under its Project Artemis, the sister of Apollo, and from the Moon onto Mars and other destinations in the solar system. But until NASA or any other space agency or commercial endeavour sends people beyond Earth orbit, Jim Lovell, Fred Haise and Jack Swigert will hold the title of being the people who have travelled the furthest from home in all of human history. But if we take a look at the object we've built that is now the furthest from Earth, that's a whopping 57,000 times further away than Apollo 13's most distant point. In 1977, NASA took advantage of a cosmic alignment that only occurs every 175 years to obtain funding for a spacecraft to make its way through the solar system, flying past Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune.
In fact, NASA built 2 of these Voyager spacecraft, which launched in 1977. Voyager 1 flew past Jupiter and Saturn and then abandoned the other planets to fly past the intriguing moon of Saturn, Titan. Voyager 2 became the only spacecraft to have ever visited Uranus and Neptune. Since their last encounters in the 1980s, both spacecraft have been making their way out of the solar system. In 2012, Voyager 1 became the first spacecraft to leave the solar system. In 2018, Voyager 2 joined it in interstellar space. Despite an incredible distance of over 14 billion miles, or 5 times the distance of Pluto, if it were travelling in the direction to the nearest star to the Sun, Proxima Centauri, it would still take 74,000 years to get there.
Pioneer 10, launched in 1972, has also entered interstellar space, and its sister, Pioneer 11, will pass this boundary in the next 10 years. The New Horizons spacecraft, sent by NASA to fly by Pluto in 2015, will reach interstellar space around 2040.
But at 14.25 billion miles away and counting, no spacecraft can ever catch Voyager up until we invent some futuristic technology that we can only dream about now. And if you like this video, do go and check out our podcast at the links below, and please also help this YouTube channel out by hitting the subscribe button here and liking the show.